Do you wake up every day pumped to work on your business? You sit down at your computer, you have a list a mile long of things to do for your business, but you have no idea if they are actually moving the needle forward or if they're just helping you feel like you got quote unquote something accomplished today. When I first started my business, I remember thinking multiple times, well, now what? So I would go to a Facebook page, ask my questions, or I would search Google only to get 20 different answers. Being who I am, I would try to do them all. But they were not moving my business forward. They were just stressing me out. I have decided to create a membership for other pro organizers that can be like a real estate office. We all have our own business, but we can meet at the office for support, guidance, and inspiration. So the monthly membership will start in January 2023 and more to come about that later. But for now, we are doing bi-weekly coaching calls for everyone to work on their business together. On November 30th, December 14th, and December 28th, we will meet on Zoom for 1 hour. So come prepared to ask those questions and work on your business. This program is free until 2023. And then we will explain the membership in more detail. Set your calendars, then go to proorganizerscoach.com/support or click on the Support Equals Success tab at proorganizerscoach.com to fill out the quick form, and we will see you on November 30th. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at proorganizerscoach@gmail.com. Now let's get on with today's episode. You are listening to the Pro Organizers Coach podcast. I'm Samantha Brown, a professional organizer and business coach. In this podcast, you will learn how to start and scale the organizing business of your dreams. So let's jump in. So welcome back to the Pro Organizers Coach podcast. On today's episode, I have Shana Goodman from the Pro Organizer Marketing Made Simple podcast. So thank you for being with us, Shana.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Samantha. I love when worlds can collide, and especially whenever I get to talk about professional organizing.
Me too. I get very excited when it's 2 organizers, 4 organizers. I love the fact that our community is very small. The people that have podcasts specifically for organizers or YouTube channels, that kind of thing, but it's still broad enough that everyone can kind of have their person or two that they listen to, or they can listen to all of us.
That's what I love about this industry too, is that there's so many different paths you can take professionally to be able to really stand out, whether that's as an organizer and your niche is closets or helping with senior transitions, or if it's kind of like you where you do the coaching piece, or like me where I do the marketing piece. So much of business growth, and my background is business development and marketing. But primarily it's business development. So what that means is that I help clients decide where they want to take their businesses, because I specialize in service-based small businesses. So that means I help small businesses think about how they want to grow, because there's lots of ways to grow your business. You know, you can scale it to multiple service locations. You can scale it to having multiple teams in one particular area. You can grow it into being like a premier, like niched moving service plus organizing. I mean, there's so many different ways to grow that as a small business owner, you really need to think first about how you want to spend your time in the business and not grow it into something you don't want it to be. Because, you know, you can do all this marketing, you know, you can put the infrastructure in place, you can do all the things. But if you don't think about what you want your role in it to be, you can potentially be building something that you don't really want to run anymore.
Yeah. Or that you get very burnt out very easily.
Yeah. So ideally, when a small business owner has come to me and said, you know, they want to grow, we talk about what that means for them. And then with my background, what we do is we go through what the opportunities are at hand that mesh with their interests, etc. And that's actually how I started my business, which I started in 2015, was and still is, it still exists. It's actually called Ampersand Business Solutions, sometimes shortened to AMPed. We started as a service-based small business marketing strategy agency. I knew I needed to niche down into some industry. We were working with a lot of companies that were local to their service area. So that would be like lawn care companies, chiropractors, cosmetic dentists, even veterinary clinics. They were all service-based small business serving their local area. And I loved that because that's just kind of where my heart is. I love helping small businesses, but nobody really thinks of themselves as a service-based small business owner. They think of themselves as the industry that they're in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was not passionate about chiropractic care. I was not passionate about veterinary care or cosmetic dentistry. So really just over the last couple of years, did my team and I actually pivot into the professional organizing industry. And that came from actually helping a client who was a friend a couple of years ago. She was saying that at the end of a busy day, a laborious week, like, because it's so, it's emotionally draining to be an organizer. It's physically draining because you're moving a lot of things. She said, at the end of the day, that is the last thing I want to do. I don't want to write social media captions. I don't want to create social media graphics. I don't want to write blog posts. And I was like, that sounds like a lot of fun. I am naturally inclined as an organizer. You should see my pantry. You should see my linen closet. Like everything is tight. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it was just a very natural evolution for my agency to pivot into a specific industry. And that industry for the last couple of years has been professional organizing, and I love it. So some of the questions that I've gotten recently is where people need to prioritize their time on marketing. Because some people, and this, I don't know, this may be a shock, this may be not. There are some organizers that love doing it, and they whip out the reels on a daily basis. They've got all the cute graphics. They've got all these things, and it's just like breathing for them.
Yes.
And that's great. Not everyone is like that. And so I'm really here to help the ones that would rather spend their time on the job with the client and not creating social media graphics and whatnot. And I keep mentioning social media just because it's kind of an infrastructure piece at this point for organizers in creating visibility for their business.
Yeah.
Everybody probably knows, we have to have a website as a business. That's how we get found. I have a philosophy that there are two ways that you find clients, like two ways, period. Okay. One is to be found when they're looking. And the second way is to make them think of you, even if they're not looking. And how you do that, part of being found, of course, online, because that's how people look for businesses, right?
Right.
Even if someone gets a referral, like a word of mouth referral, they're going to go to your website. They're going to Google search you online.
Yes.
And kind of vet you first. So that's why you need to have some of your infrastructure pieces in place so that you are communicating well who you are, how you work, the transformation that your organizing can offer for them as a client. So websites are crucial, of course. Having a Google business account is crucial because most people utilize Google for search, and Google prioritizes Google.
Yes.
Which probably comes as a shock to no one.
Right.
But if you're inputting your information, your business information into Google, Google is going to bring that up as credible and worthy, along with your website, along with social profiles.
Well, and just recently they started, thank God, putting the reviews from your Facebook business page onto the actual Google page that it shows up. Because before you would have to have your clients specifically go to your Google My Business, for the
or Facebook, right.
And no one's going to do both. Like, you're lucky to get
Right.
one out of them, much less both.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's if you send a link and you ask them after this, after the service. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
and most of the time we are working with disorganized people. So it's not like
right.
that they are going to prioritize going to our, whatever.
Right.
And so
they can't.
Right. And so we, as the business owners, have to make sure that we are utilizing every single tool we can to make sure exactly what you said, that we are being found when they're looking and we look professional when they're looking,
Yes.
but also that maybe we're kind of in their face when they don't expect us to be.
Absolutely. And there's kind of a stair step of priorities, because it's easy to get really overwhelmed if you're a new organizer, thinking about all of the things that you have to get in place to be able to provide the services, finding the clients. And then a lot of people actually, they'll have a busy first couple of months as an organizer, because as they've been doing their day jobs or whatever, they'll talk to people about at some point offering these services. And so they've kind of got a built up waiting list. But then after you get through those first couple of months of clients, a lot of times there's crickets. And it's because a lot of those things aren't yet set up so that people can find you. Website, Google Business, social media.
Yeah, absolutely. And I completely am of the mind frame, and maybe that's why it worked for me, is that while it was still my side hustle, like before I ever launched the thing and started talking about it, I went ahead and at least had those things set up and made sure to at least have a handful of reviews, posts, the things.
Yes.
Because I didn't want even one person to look and be like, oh, well, she's not real, or it's not legit,
Right.
or, and so to me, it was very pivotal to have those foundational pieces while I was still at my other job. And like the very first thing that I did before I quote unquote launched and started telling people.
Yes. And that's exactly what I would recommend for the priorities when you're first getting started. When you're first getting started, you want to secure the accounts on all the platforms. And I think we were talking about this maybe before we hit record. It's really confusing and kind of discombobulating if someone has different user account names on different platforms. So try to be as consistent as possible. So secure the accounts on the platforms that make the most sense. Right now, Facebook and Instagram make the most sense for home organizers. I know a lot of organizers that specialize in like business and productivity. That can be LinkedIn. If you're seeking kind of corporate clients, that can be LinkedIn and Facebook. But home organizers, definitely the value is Facebook and Instagram. You're also going to want to make sure that your accounts are linked to your website and your Google Business. So on Google Business, just make sure that you have listed out, find me on Facebook here, find me on Instagram here, find me on LinkedIn here, if that's relevant. And then also on your website. And that's super easy. Most website templates have social icons that you literally just plug in your handle. So make sure that that's all kind of connected and linked. And then you're going to want to do some regular posting. I love what you just said about making sure that you have a few things in place before you even really made things public, because that really shows that you've got the foundational things. And it also shows a reliability. I mean, if someone comes on to your website, looks at your social, and everything is super scattershot, discombobulated, and they're going to wonder if that's kind of how you do business.
And they're coming to you to help organize their home.
Right.
If they look at your website and your online and it's discombobulated, then they're going to be like, well, is this person, like, it's not going to feel like you're a good quote unquote organizer. As harsh as that is, it's the truth. That's going to be their natural instinct. When I first started the podcast, the first few episodes, I made sure to do a how to start your business because I wanted to get the foundational pieces up front. And I made sure to tell everyone, and I talk about it all the time, of the website. It's okay if it's 2 or 3 pages. You can have like 2 pages and then like a fill out form page. Just, it doesn't have to be a lot, but it still needs to be enough. And you have to have that fill out form part.
Yes.
And then exactly what you're saying, the Google My Business, all of that and everything being linked is so, so, so important. And so that's kind of what we're going through right now is the getting started. If you're in the idea to launch phase of your business, these are the foundational pieces that you need to get in order to then step up to where you are more in the growth season of growing your business. So go ahead.
Yes, yes. So a couple of other things to add on the getting started season of things is start regular posting. Capture the tips that come really natural to you, capture before and after photos. You can even do quotes, a lot of like minimalism quotes, decluttering quotes. Those are really good, even if you don't have a ton of before and after portfolio types of photos, you can still provide value and be in the social media newsfeed with some content like that. So go ahead and start regular posting and just batch it so that you can kind of do it all at once and schedule it out for a few weeks, even a month, so that you've got some things kind of on the docket.
Kind of curious, do you have an app that you recommend? Yeah, for getting it out there and batching?
Yes. I have used a lot of different social media platforms because I have been doing this for a long time. And later.com, later.com is by and large the best that I have found. Later allows you to have a social set that you connect to your accounts. So for instance, all of my business accounts I have in Later. You put in your Facebook, your Instagram, your LinkedIn, whatever you use for your business. And then you upload your content, you write in your captions, your hashtags, and then you schedule them out. You can have a free account, later.com, free account that allows up to 10 posts per platform per month.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And their next version is $15 or $18, and that's unlimited Facebook posts, Instagram posts. And then once you get into a paid account, and once you have a couple of months of data for them to utilize, Later will give you optimal times to post. So, there are some things based on user activity that we can make recommendations as far as when you should post on Facebook or when you should post on Instagram. And a lot of those are like, Monday through Friday between 1 and 3 p.m. are good for Facebook. Instagram tends to be, depending upon your client, your clientele, can be like early evening or even late evening or first thing in the morning to be at the top of their scroll. Based on how people are utilizing the platform is where those recommendations come from. And that always changes because consumer behavior is always changing. So I love that Later takes into account user activity of your followers. And so we can just pop it straight into Friday at 10 a.m. or whatever it tells us. I'm not a Later affiliate. I don't actually think they do affiliates, but I just really think that they are killing the scheduling at this point. You can schedule directly into Facebook and Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
I just think Later is really easy. And especially if you have anything else, if you have a LinkedIn, if you have Pinterest, which may not make sense if you're a local service provider, but maybe you offer printables for sale online, that could be a good opportunity for Pinterest. I just like that it's all in one place.
And if you get to know it at the beginning, as you're first doing these foundational pieces, as your business grows, and maybe then you're offering, the printables, or then you're offering whatever.
Exactly.
You already know how to use the platform for it to grow with you.
Exactly. And then a lot of these pieces are, like you said, I think you called them foundational, and then you grow. As you grow, as long as you have that infrastructure in place, it grows with you. Another recommendation I have in the getting started season, which there are more priorities in the getting started season, just because you are building the infrastructure, you're kind of building the foundation of your business's visibility. So this fourth one that I have, this fourth priority is be sure to find and follow your ideal clients on those platforms. See what they're sharing, engage with them, interact with them. If you're a home organizer serving that local clientele, that local service provider,
Mm-hmm.
Find people that are in your area, follow realtors, interior designers. So service professionals that are already working in the homes of your ideal clients are great people to interact and engage with because you're building relationships. I have built countless relationships by starting conversations on Instagram or Facebook, but it also allows for a two-way level of getting to know your clients. You can see what sort of questions they have, what they're posting. And it's just kind of that constant two-way interaction so that you know that you're offering what they need and you can ask questions. I've gotten so much valuable feedback from my ideal clients just by asking people questions on social media of what they need help with.
Yeah. And you don't ever want to go on someone else's post that's for like construction and be like, oh, I'm an organizer. I can help you organize. I'll organize for you. Like, it's not about that per se. It's more about the natural conversation you would have with someone. And it's also about for the algorithm, making sure that when it's, showing for the people that this construction company shows for because you followed them, hopefully it'll work itself out to where you're in front of them too, right?
Exactly. So to recap on priorities for getting started, you want to secure the accounts on the platforms that make the most sense. You want to make sure that your accounts are linked to your website and your Google business. And you want to do some regular posting and be sure to find and follow your ideal clients on the platform, plus potential local service providers that are in the homes of your ideal clients.
Which I think is a huge tip because I will say all these other pieces I had when I was getting started, but whenever I was listening to a podcast and they were like, go follow your ideal client, like I knew who my ideal client was, but I didn't know how to find them on Instagram or Facebook. And so the idea of, oh, if I would have looked for service professionals serving my ideal client in my area, like that is genius to me. Like that would have helped so many things.
Yeah. The idea is to be able to kind of leapfrog past things that you wouldn't have thought of. And that's why I love doing this, is because there are so many different little tools and tactics that can help. Something else in regards to that and finding your ideal client on Instagram in particular, you can search local hashtags. So specifically, if you're offering services to a local area, take a little bit of time and research what those local hashtags are, because people follow local hashtags, especially if you're in a somewhat populated area. I mean, if you're in rural Maine, maybe not.
Right.
But if you're in a somewhat populated area, there are going to be local hashtags that people are following. And people follow those local hashtags to stay on top of what's going on in the community. And so you can find local people with those. And then also industry hashtags. So maybe you're in Atlanta, you're a home organizer in Atlanta. You can check out those local hashtags for Atlanta. And then also check out people kind of in that geolocation of Atlanta that are following hashtags like hashtag declutter, hashtag organized life, that sort of thing. That's how you find your ideal clients on social.
Nice. And it gives you an idea of, like you said, of what else they have as hashtags once you start looking at their profile and kind of getting an idea, which can lead you down the rabbit trail. Don't get too stressed. It's okay.
Right.
Like we all, have that moment of like, what is happening here? How did I get to this place in my life? What are these hashtags?
In more ways than one, Samantha.
Yes. So you are in good company, we promise. Okay.
Yes.
So we've got the getting started. These are your foundational pieces. If you are from the idea phase all the way to, okay, I'm going to launch my business. So
yes.
Now, if you have already launched your business, what would you recommend for their social media priorities for this season?
Yes. So you're going to want to keep things up to date. You're going to want to keep posting, even if you aren't doing it yourself at this point. A lot of organizers, and I think I mentioned this at the beginning of the call, a lot of organizers don't love this aspect, and it's never ending, right? Like posting on social media is just never ending. And so it really helps to have someone help you, whether it's a virtual assistant that you Zoom with every week and like, hey, here, I've got some more project photos, and give them some instruction, they can help create that ongoing content. Or you can also hire someone who specializes in social media management. But something to think about with this is that there are going to be ebbs and flows with phone calls and with people requesting consultations. I've heard it over and over again from different pro organizers that, they kind of came on the scene, they were fast and furious for a couple of months, and then maybe they kind of hooked up with a local networking group. And so then that got them their next, year or 6 months worth of clients. There will come a time when there are some ebbs and flows. You're not getting as many phone calls. And there's going to be times you're booked out for 4 weeks at a time, 6 weeks, and sometimes there's not. And that's with any small business. There are going to be these ups and downs. So what I recommend is, even when you're busy, it's super appealing to think, okay, I don't need to do this anymore. I don't need to do social media anymore. But again, my philosophy is that there's only 2 ways to get clients: be found when they're looking, or make them think of you when they're not. So if you're consistently showing up in someone's newsfeed with a tip on organization or simplicity, they're going to be like, oh yeah, I meant to call her. So having that constant visibility really helps kind of even out and just make sure that you're constantly getting consistent input and consistent requests. Something that I learned a long time ago is that when McDonald's business gets slow, they don't scale back on advertising. They actually increase it for some of those same reasons. You want to be in front of people. So those are the priorities for when you are in that growth stage. It's mostly don't feel like you don't have to do this anymore. You still need to be visible. And then when you're seasoned, so when you're in, 2+ years, you've been doing this for a while, what's important are going to be some of the same things as the growth stage. You want to maintain visibility with regular posts. Something, though, that is going to come up after you've been in business for a while is that there are going to be more platforms coming out.
Right.
So, don't feel, and this is what I tell people all the time, don't feel like you have to be on every single social media platform that comes out just to keep up with things, or just because your niece says, hey, everybody's on Snapchat, you need to be on Snapchat. What you need to do is stop your niece and say, I'm not sure that my ideal client is on Snapchat. However, having said that, tides do shift periodically. And most importantly, rather than be super focused on which platform, think more about where your ideal client is and how you can continuously be in front of them. That'll help you prioritize, because you can really only be on 1 or 2 platforms and do it well. If you are trying to be on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and Snapchat and Twitter, you're going to burn yourself out. And honestly, the return on your time is not going to be there. It just can't be.
Right. Where if you took all of that time that you would have spent on 5 or 6 different places and focused it on the 1 or 2 places. And what hit me earlier as you were talking for the growth of the ebbs and flows, it's kind of like planting seeds is how we find clients. And so if you don't wait until you're starving to plant a seed, like you plant a seed back when you're still full and, knowing that it's going to take time for that seed to grow. And that is all social media is a bunch of little seeds. You have to make sure you've planted enough of those seeds, because, a lot of them may not sprout, or, they may sprout at different times, or, and so.
Absolutely.
And I know it's easier said than done. Like, for you listening, you're probably like, yeah, you're sitting there on a podcast. Like, you've got this figured out. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm stressing out. Like, this is awful.
It's important to prioritize.
Yes.
Just the 1 to 2 platforms and just these things.
Well, and I do love the idea of, like you said, for one, that's what your company does, is they help, but also, like, as professional organizers, and just some of the tips that you've given already today of just like the hashtags and looking up other service professionals in your area and making sure to follow them. Those are crucial little things that it's going to work itself out. My point is that if you're listening to this and you're stressing out over social media, it's okay. We have all been there multiple times, probably this week. Like, it's fine.
Right.
Like, you are doing a good job. Just keep consistent with what you know, even if you aren't getting many likes or many comments, as it's just about staying consistent. You can't allow those likes and comments to determine if you're going to keep doing or not. Like, that has nothing to do. They may have seen it. They may just have scrolled past it, but still being in their eyeballs is what matters.
Right. And that's, and that's something that sometimes people get stuck on, that, hey, I tried regular posting on social media for a month. It didn't work. That's not how it works. It's what you just described. It's infrastructure. It's getting their attention, and marketing is entirely that way. You're planting all of these seeds. And like you said, some of them are going to bloom certain times, different than others. You have to have the garden growing.
Yeah. And actually, just recently with building this podcast, I've actually seen where people are, because people are hearing the podcast and then they're going on social media and they're finding my local organizing service business. And so they're going through and liking it. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I forgot I even posted that a year and a half ago,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's there for them to find.
Well, yes. And actually, that's something that brings me to a good point on a priority when you're seasoned, is that after you've been in business for a while, you'll get to a point where it could be advantageous to invest in some Facebook ads, because Facebook ads are really, really, really efficient on targeting and being able to target locally. Facebook has so much data on us that as an individual person, it's terrifying to me. As a marketer, it makes me giddy.
Right.
You can target so efficiently. But to be able to do Facebook ads, you're going to want a pretty good, solid presence on your Facebook business page, because when someone sees an ad from you in Facebook, the first thing they're going to do is click to your business page. And if it's crickets and tumbleweeds for the past 3 years, that's going to be a question mark and a red flag for them.
Well, and it's going to make you feel like you're being spammed and you just got a spam phone call.
Right.
Truly, anytime someone reaches out to me, I immediately go to their profile like, oh, who is this? And the second I see that they've not posted anything or they don't have many followers, I'm like, oh, it's one of those spam people again, trying to find out what I'm doing or however they get their money. I'm not really sure, but yeah.
Right, exactly. Just to recap on the seasoned piece, is kind of the same similar things as the growth stage, maintaining that visibility with regular posts. Don't feel like you have to jump on every new platform. Because I remember when Snapchat really came on the scene, several years ago, I had clients that were like, oh my gosh, do I need to be on Snapchat? Do I need to be on this and that? And it's like, okay, you don't have to be everywhere. Let's think about specifically where your clientele is spending time online and focus there. So we actually have some free social media bundles that you can download and use as your own if you'd like. I just want to kind of share a couple of different ways that we can help if you are looking for help. So my website is proorganizermarketing.com. You can find me on Instagram at proorganizermarketing. We actually have a new Facebook group called Social Media Marketing for Professional Organizers. And I'll share all of these links with you, Samantha, so you can put them in the show notes.
Absolutely.
And let's see, we have Organized. Organized is a membership program that we have tons of content that if you don't want to have to think about what you're posting this week, next week, just kind of that constant motion of posting, a ton of content you can download, use as your own, even templates where we've created the content, the top 5 tips for keeping your kitchen tidy during the holidays or whatever, that you can go in, add to it, change your colors, etc. And so that's Organized. To go back to that free social media bundle that I mentioned, we have a handful of them actually. And those you can download for free, use as your own. And those are in our shop on proorganizermarketing.com.
Oh, perfect. And yes,
Yeah.
I will definitely make sure to put all of the links in the show notes below. I am so thankful, Shana, that you came on the podcast and that you had all of these like super good tips because like you said earlier in the episode, if you are not naturally someone that's like, oh, I got this, like I've
Uh-huh.
got social media in the bag because it's just natural to me. If you're not that person, but you're a business person starting your organizing business, that can almost be a stumbling block is the social media
Yeah.
piece of this thing.
Yeah, it can, I mean, it can kind of paralyze you where you don't end up doing anything at all. But yeah, it can hold you back. And really my goal and where my passion lie is that I'm really like, I love helping small business owners grow their business so they can spend more time doing what they love.
Mm-hmm.
And I know while I personally love to geek out about content and keywords and hashtags, I know not everyone does.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you my first hire when I started my business was a bookkeeper because I knew I didn't want to spend my time categorizing transactions and heaven forbid there be something that needs troubleshooting in
Right.
QuickBooks. That is not me. That will not be me.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to be that person for people that don't like the marketing. We've got a ton of things, a lot of really affordable resources. So however we can help you, we would love to help you.
Yeah. And speaking of the bookkeeping side of this, I'm glad you mentioned that because I wanted to make sure to mention if you didn't know, once you go legit and you are actually quote unquote, a business legitimately doing this, those are business write-offs, like the marketing side of things and the hiring
Absolutely.
people and the same with, hiring a bookkeeper. Like in this day and age, it really is just another thing that like the business can pay for, but really will get you more return on your investment than what you may realize at the time. And it's that thing of do you have the time to be all of these places and doing all of these things all of the time? Or is it actually better to allow your business to pay for a few of these things and give you some peace so the pieces
Right.
you do well, you can continue to do well?
Well, and a lot of my clients, a lot of pro organizers tell me that they can make more money hourly by, helping clients, being out in the field, working with clients, and it pays for itself very quickly. So, as small business owners, we do have to decide where we want to spend our time. And a lot of times it's, when we're in kind of our own zone of genius is where we make more money. So looking for ways to delegate and outsource what we can is
Yeah.
really big in growth.
As quote unquote organizers, a lot of us have those perfectionist tendencies where
Definitely.
we feel like we could do it better. And so, I was just kind of reminding the person out there listening, like it is
Yes.
okay to have someone support you and help you, which is also why we did the Support Equals Success membership. If you have not joined that, please go to proorganizerscoach.com and click the tab, fill out the form, and come join us in that membership because it is going to be amazing. And Shana, I am so grateful. Again, the gold nuggets that you have given us have been so fantastic. I wish I would have met you years ago.
Well, that makes me very happy to hear. I'm glad that it was helpful.
Awesome. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
You have been listening to the Pro Organizers Coach podcast. Go to the show notes to find all of the links mentioned in this episode and hit that subscribe and automatic download button so you don't miss a single thing. Thanks for listening.